She left the note where he'd find it too late. Layla Grant wakes again on a cot in her atelier. 29. A Black American woman who restores antique furniture and historical interiors. Beautiful. Fading. Her fingers close around the small gold teardrop necklace her mother gave her. 6 months of cold silence. A birthday he skipped. Guards who never spoke. Her husband is Park Tae-won. They call him the Black Lion, president of the Park Seong Group, a mafia leader in a tailored black suit and a fine watch, with a black lion inked up the left side of his neck, rising above his collar in every room he enters. His world is marble, money, and men who obey. Her world has shrunk to packed boxes and a folding cot beside the workbench. At the lawyer's office, she asks for nothing. Nothing that belongs to you. She says, "Take care." She walks out. He signs. He comes home to an emptied closet, and on her pillow, a single white envelope. 3 words on the front, "Read only after I'm gone." But what she wrote inside that envelope. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. The cot creaked when Layla sat up, and the sound was louder than anything in the house. Dust drifted through a shaft of gray morning light. Around her, half-restored chairs sat in rows like patients waiting for surgery, their frames stripped, their joints clamped. She had fallen asleep at the workbench again. Her cheek carried the print of a wood grain edge. She pressed 2 fingers to the small gold necklace at her throat. The teardrop stone was warm from her skin. Her mother had clasped it there years ago, in another country, in a life that fit. Down the corridor, the mansion breathed. Marble, glass, 40 rooms she had never learned to fill. She had married into all of it. She had also, somewhere in the last 6 months, begun to vanish inside it. A guard stood at the far end of the hall when she walked to the kitchen. He looked at her, then looked past her. That was the arrangement now. The men followed her to the market, to the doctor, to the atelier, and none of them spoke. Tae-won had ordered protection. He had not ordered kindness. Mrs. Han was already at the counter, pouring tea. "You didn't sleep in your room again," the housekeeper said. "The room is his. The room is yours too." Layla took the cup. It hasn't been for a while. 6 months earlier, there had been a birthday, hers. She had set 2 places at the long table, lit a single candle, and waited until the wax pooled and drowned the flame. Tae-won came home at 3 in the morning. He passed the dining room without slowing. She had blown nothing out. There had been nothing left to blow out. She did not cry that night. She had stopped expecting the door to open before it stayed shut. Now she carried the tea back to the atelier and set it beside a folder she had prepared 3 days ago. Inside were papers with her lawyer's letterhead. She had read them so many times the ink lived behind her eyes. At 10, a car took her across the city. The guard rode in front, silent as always. Layla watched the towers of the Park Group slide past the window, glass stacked on glass, and felt nothing pull her toward any of it. The lawyer's office smelled of new carpet. Tae-won was already seated when she entered, in a black suit cut close to his shoulders. The lion inked up the left side of his neck showing above his collar. He rose when she came in. Old manners. Dead marriage. "You're certain," his lawyer said, sliding a document across the table. "I am." Tae-won's lawyer cleared his throat. The settlement terms, the residence, the accounts, Nothing, Layla said. The room stilled. "I want nothing that belongs to you." She signed her name once, at the bottom, in a hand that did not shake. Then she stood, gathered her coat, and looked at the man she had loved, across a distance he had built brick by brick. "Take care," she said. She meant it. That was the part that hurt. Tae-won watched her walk to the door. His jaw moved once, as if he might speak. He picked up the pen instead. He signed. The nib scratched the paper in the quiet. A small sound, final as a lock. Layla did not look back. The elevator doors closed on her reflection, and she straightened the necklace, and she breathed. The car returned her to the atelier. She spent the afternoon labeling boxes. Chisels, clamps, the fine brushes, the little jars of pigment she mixed by hand. She wrapped a chair leg in cloth and taped it, and did not stop moving. Movement was the only thing that worked. By dusk, she had one bag left to pack, and she carried it to the mansion for the last of her things. The bedroom she entered was not the room where she had slept anymore. She went to the closet, her closet, and began pulling dresses from the rod. Cream, wine. The deep blue he had once said suited her, back when he still said things. She folded them into the suitcase, corner over corner, until the rod hung bare and the shelves stood empty. On the bed, against his pillow, she placed a white envelope. She had written the words on the front that morning, at the workbench, before the cot had even cooled. Read only after I'm gone. Her thumb rested on the paper a moment. There was a great deal inside it. There were things she had carried alone for so long that setting them down felt like tearing. She left it there. She closed the suitcase. She walked out through 40 rooms and did not fill a single one on her way. Taiwan came home at 9. The house told him before he understood it. No shoes by the door but his. No tea steam in the kitchen. Mrs. Han standing in the hall with her hands folded and her eyes wet. He climbed the stairs 2 at a time. The closet stood open, gutted, hangers swinging on an empty rod. He turned in the middle of the room like a man checking whether he had entered the wrong house. Then he saw the pillow, the white rectangle against the dark linen. He crossed to it slowly. He picked it up. Her handwriting curved across the front, small and certain, and he read the line and read it again. His thumb slid under the flap. He stopped. Downstairs, the front door had not made a sound when it shut behind her. He had not heard the one thing he would have given the whole house to hear. He held the envelope in both hands, and for the first time in 6 months, Park Tae-won's control cracked at the edge. His thumb tore the flap in one motion. The paper came out folded 3 times, and a smaller photograph slipped loose and landed face down on the bed. Tae-won unfolded the letter. Her handwriting filled the page, close and steady. By the time you read this, you'll already know I asked for nothing. That was true. But there is one thing I never gave you, because you were never here to give it to. He kept reading, standing, the lamp throwing his shadow long across the empty closet. I was pregnant, almost 4 months. I found out the week your birthday message never came. No, my birthday. I keep confusing them now. I wanted to tell you at dinner. You didn't come to dinner. His hand tightened on the paper. I lost the baby in the 9th week after that. I was at the atelier. Dr. Seko drove me to the hospital. I called your office. A man I'd never met said you were unavailable and hung up. So I did it alone. I've been doing most things alone for a while. I only understood how long when the nurse asked who to call and I had no one to say. He turned the letter over. There was nothing on the back. He turned it again, as if the missing part might appear. At the foot of the bed sat a small box he had not noticed. Pale, tied once with a thin ribbon. He lifted the lid. Inside lay a pair of baby shoes. Knitted, cream-colored, small enough to sit in his palm. She had made them by hand. He knew her hands. He had watched them repair a 200-year-old cabinet without leaving a mark. He set the box down very carefully, the way a man sets down something that might still be alive. Then he picked up the photograph from the bed and turned it over. An ultrasound, gray shapes on black, a date printed in the corner, her birthday. The night the candle burned itself out while he passed the dining room without slowing. Something in his chest gave way without a sound. He did not sit. He stood in the ruined room and held the photograph until the edge bit into his fingers, and the composure that men feared across 3 cities was nowhere on his face. Downstairs, a door opened. Choi Dae-hyun's heavy step crossed the hall. Sir? His head of security stopped at the bedroom threshold. read the room in a glance, and lowered his eyes. Forgive me, I can come back. Stay. Taewon's voice came out level. It cost him everything. The car, 3 months ago, the one that followed her from the atelier. Daehyun straightened. The sedan. We wrote it off as a road incident. She was shaken but unharmed. You wrote it off? I want it opened. Sir. Tonight. Daehyun held his gaze a moment, then nodded once and left. Taewon looked at the shoes. He looked at the necklace-shaped absence where she used to stand at the window. He had built walls around her because the world he ran was a knife, and a knife points everywhere. He had told himself distance was armor. She had been pregnant behind that armor. She had bled behind it. And his men had watched her go to the hospital and said nothing, because he had trained them to guard the perimeter and never the person. He put the letter in his inside pocket, over the place where it hurt, and he went to work. The security floor never fully slept. Daehyun pulled the traffic footage, the plate, the registration. The sedan traced back to a leasing firm, and the leasing firm to a holding company, and the holding company to a name that meant nothing. At 2 in the morning, Daehyun set a single sheet in front of Taewon. The shell company, he said. We followed it up through 4 layers. The signatures at the top are hidden, but the accountant is not. He tapped a line. This firm files for one client only. We've used the same firm ourselves, for internal matters. Taewon read the client name. He read it the way he had read the ultrasound, twice, refusing it the first time. Park Min-jae. His cousin. His advisor. The man who had stood at his shoulder since they were boys. Who counseled patients. Who had said, more than once, that the marriage made the black lion soft. There could be an explanation, Daehyun said, watching him. There could. Taewon set the sheet down flat, aligned it with the edge of the desk, a small, ordinary motion that took all the fury in the room and pressed it into a straight line. Find the driver, quietly. If Min-jae learns we're looking, he cleans it. Daehyun hesitated at the door. Sir, if it's him, he's family. So was she. The sedan that chased Layla into a barrier 3 months ago had not come from a rival. It had not come from outside the walls at all. It had come from the one place his protection could never guard, because his protection had been aimed the wrong way the entire time. He had pushed her to the edge of his world to keep her safe. Someone inside the world had been pushing from the other side. Taewon turned off the desk lamp. In the dark, the city glittered through the glass, and for the length of a held breath, he understood exactly how much he had lost, and how much of it he had handed away himself. He reached for his coat. There was a name he had been avoiding all night, and it was not his cousin's. It was hers. Layla was sanding a table leg when the bell over the atelier door rang. She knew the weight of his step before she turned. She kept the sandpaper moving 3 more strokes, then set it down and wiped her palms on her apron. The atelier had changed in a week. A new sign leaned against the wall, not yet hung. A second workbench, a young apprentice's jacket on a hook. She had signed a lease on the small unit next door. She was building something that did not need 40 rooms. Taewon stood inside the door and did not come further. His eyes moved over it all. The new bench, the sign, the life assembling itself without him. You've been busy, he said. I've been fine, she folded her arms. You read it. I read it. Then you know. I know some of it. He took the envelope from his coat, the letter she had written, and held it as if returning it were an option. I need the rest. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she pulled 2 stools out and did not sit on either. There was a knock at the side door. Dr. Seo Min-young stepped in, coat over her arm, glasses catching the light. She stopped when she saw who was there. You called her? Layla asked. I did, Taewon said. I wanted to hear it from someone who was in the room, because you'll tell me the version that spares me. Layla's jaw tightened, but she nodded once at her friend. Tell him. Dr. Seo set her coat down slowly. She called me at 11 at night. She was already bleeding when I got to the atelier. She wouldn't let me phone an ambulance until she'd tried your office twice. Her voice stayed clinical, and that made it worse. In the car, she kept apologizing. To me. For the trouble. Taiwan's hand closed at his side. At the hospital, they asked for next of kin. Dr. C went on. She gave your name. They tried 3 numbers. Someone answered the last one and said the president was not to be disturbed. She adjusted her glasses. She held my hand through the procedure. She thanked the nurses. She asked them not to note it as a loss on any record that might reach the press, because it would embarrass you. The atelier was very quiet. Somewhere a clock the size of a coin ticked inside a case Layla was restoring. She protected your name, Dr. Seo said, from a bed she nearly didn't leave. Taewon looked at the floor. When he spoke, his voice had lost its foundation. I didn't know. That, Layla said, is the whole problem. He turned to her. I put men around you. I moved you where no one could reach you. Every choice I made was to keep you safe. You kept me guarded. You didn't keep me. She stepped closer, and her eyes were bright and level. Do you know what a guard who never speaks feels like? Like a cell with a view? You built me a beautiful prison and called it love. I was trying to protect you from what I am. You protected me from yourself so well that when I was dying, I couldn't reach you. Her breath caught, and she steadied it. Protection without truth is also a prison, Taewon. I didn't leave because you're dangerous. I left because you disappeared, and left a bodyguard where a husband should have been. He had faced men with guns and not moved. He moved now, half a step back, as if the words had mass. I know who chased your car, he said. It was Min Jae. It came from inside my own house. She absorbed it without flinching. And that's supposed to change what I felt every night you didn't come home? Your enemy didn't make you skip my birthday. Your enemy didn't hang up the phone in your name. You did those things. Him I can fight. You I couldn't even find. Because you taught me I was alone, she said, softer, and the sentence landed harder than any shout. Taewon stood in the middle of the little workshop, surrounded by broken things she knew how to mend, and understood that he was the one repair she could not be asked to make. Tell me what to do, he said. I'll do it, any of it. I don't know if there's a thing to do. She picked up the sandpaper again, then set it down because her hands needed somewhere to go. You want the marriage back. I don't want the marriage back. Something in him went still. I don't want the same marriage, she said. That one already killed a part of me. If there's anything at all, it can't look like what we had. He nodded slowly, and the nod was the most honest thing he had offered her in a year. Then find out who really did this, she said. Not for me. For the person who answered that phone in your name and decided I wasn't worth disturbing you for. Because someone taught your house to treat me like I was already gone. She turned back to the table leg. And Taewon. She did not look up. Whatever you find, don't bring it here at night. I work late now. I'm alone here, the way you made me good at being. The bell rang once as the door closed behind him. Outside, 3 months of a chased sedan and one buried name waited in the dark, and neither of them yet knew that the man who had broken the marriage was not finished breaking it. Min Jae poured 2 glasses of whiskey and slid one across the desk before Tae Zo-won had sat down. You've been asking questions, he said, about a leasing firm. I have. Ask me instead. Min Jae's face stayed smooth, the gray at his temples catching the lamp. It's cleaner between family. Taewon did not touch the glass. Then tell me why your accountant leased the car that ran my wife into a barrier. For one breath, the older man's composure held. Then he set his own glass down and something behind his eyes stepped forward, unhurried, almost relieved to be seen. Because you were becoming a coward, Min Jae said. The Black Lion married a restorer of furniture and started sleeping through meetings. Our enemies smelled it. I gave you back your teeth. He spread his hands. A few frightened nights, she leaves on her own, you harden, the organization survives. She was never in real danger. I calibrated it. You calibrated a pregnancy into a miscarriage. That landed. Min-jae blinked, once. I didn't know about. No, Taewon said. You never do know the cost of the thing you engineer. That's the difference between us you always mistook for weakness. He stood. You're out. Every account, every seat, every key. Choi is at your door already. Min-jae's calm finally broke into something colder. You need me. Without me, you go soft again, and they eat you. Then they eat me. Taewon walked to the door. She was the only thing that kept me from becoming you. I'd rather lose everything than finish the job you started. But a cornered man with nothing left is more dangerous than a loyal one. And Min-jae had built the whole plan around one place. That night, 4 men entered the building where Layla worked late. She heard the service door give below her before she saw anyone. She was in the restoration wing on the 3rd floor, alone among draped furniture and scaffolding. A single lamp burning over a walnut cabinet. She killed the lamp with her palm. Her phone was in her apron. She dialed the only number she had kept. They're inside, she whispered when he answered. 4. I counted from the mezzanine. 2 took the main stairs. 2, the freight elevator. Get out the north exit, Taewon said, already moving, engine turning over in the background. The north exit is where the freight car goes. They'll walk into you at the loading dock. She pressed against a pillar, breathing through her mouth, eyes adjusting. 20 years of learning how buildings were built told her exactly where a body could hide and exactly where one couldn't. Come up the east stair. It's behind the old panel. They won't know it's there. I'll talk you through. Layla, I know this building better than they do. Let me. She moved along the wall in the dark, counting doorways by touch. 2 of them are on your floor now, by the drop cloths. Wait. A footstep scraped below her. One's coming up the freight. He's slow. He's checking each landing. You have maybe 40 seconds on the east stair before he clears the 2nd floor. Taewon came up through the hidden panel where she said, and Daehyun behind him. And because she told them where the ambush waited, the ambush closed on empty air. It was over in a corridor she had mapped by hand, fast and ugly and brief. When the lights came up, Min-jae's men were down or fled, and Layla stepped out from behind the scaffolding with dust in her hair and her chin high. Taewon crossed to her. He did not touch her. He looked at her the way a man looks at the one thing he thought he had already lost. You could have run, he said. I've had enough of running from your world, she said. I decided to know it instead. Weeks passed, and there was a table and a folder and a lawyer who slid papers toward her exactly as one had 6 months before. Taewon sat across from her, saying nothing, letting her hold the pen. Layla read the top page. Then she closed the folder. I still want to divorce, she said. His face did not change, and that stillness was its own kind of hope. The marriage we had, that one's over. She reached into her coat and set 2 rings on the table between them, side by side, quietly. If we try again, we start from 0. No secrets, no disappearing. You tell me the ugly things before I find them written on a letterhead. And the first time a guard stands where you should be standing, I'm gone, and there's no letter. Taewon looked at the 2 rings for a long moment. Then he covered them with his hand, and for once he let her see the whole of his face. A year later, in a smaller house outside Seoul, the kitchen filled with the gray light of early morning. Layla stood at the counter, hair loose, the gold teardrop at her throat. 2 mugs steamed on the wood. Taewon came in barefoot, the lion showing above his collar, and she turned before he spoke and slid a small box across the counter to him. He opened it. 2 baby shoes, new ones. Not the pair from before. That pair lived in a drawer they visited together sometimes, on hard days. This time, she said, I wanted to tell you first. He tried to say something. His mouth opened and no sound came. The man 3 cities had feared undone by a box that fit in one hand. He crossed the kitchen and held her, and did not let go. And outside the window, Sol woke up slowly, and neither of them was standing alone in any of it. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever loved someone who called their silence protection and never once told you the truth? Have you ever asked for nothing when you deserved everything and left before anyone knew what it cost you? What would it take for the person beside you to finally read the note before it's too late? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about truth, sacrifice, and redemption, leave a like. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.